Whatever it is of Miami Dolphins Social. Take two. All right, guys, welcome back to episode 6, 7, whatever it is of Miami Dolphins Social. We are your depressed hosts, Jacob and Donovan, and the theme of the episode and the title of the episode is Miami Dolphins Therapy Session, in which I don't even know how much we actually intend on or want to talk about the Miami Dolphins. That sucked. You were definitely a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot more mad about it than I was.
Yeah, I was. So the thing was, like, I expected the loss when Tim Boyle came into the game, and then when Tim Boyle came in, we had just turned the ball over for a second time, or was it?
No, it was a punt. No, we punted it because Tyler got hurt, and then we punted it away.
Yeah, then we punted it away. But was the second turnover before or after that?
I don't know, bro. It was.
It's all a blur to me right now.
It was all a mess.
But like when we were down and Tim Boyle needed to be our savior, I already knew that we were gonna lose. But then like we start driving down the field, little dink and dunks, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And then it's like, okay, it's 12 seconds left. We just spiked the ball. It's 4th and 2. One more dink out of bounds and get the first down, and then we could set up the Hail Mary, or we can go for the Hail Mary right now. But either way, we needed a first down there. And what's the one thing you can't do? 4th and 2, game on the line. What's the one thing you can't do?
Bro, there was a Dolphins fan in the stands. Like, he saw the jersey. He was trying to hit him out of bounds.
Brother,
There was a Dolphins fan in row 1. That's where he was throwing the ball.
So I didn't make a video today, but like, if I did, it would have just been an absolute. Who's that?
Rodolfo. 28's coming, Rodolfo. All right.
Okay, he's a
20.
I'm kidding. He's not a bandwagon. He's that's from New York.
Well, before we continue with the Dolphins, I do have to announce, and I somewhat told you about this on Sunday, but it is official now. Your boy's going to Game 5.
Dodgers are sweeping in 4, so
yeah, that's funny. Good jokes. I'm going to Game 5 up in New York. We're Yankees fans around here. All right. If you're a Marlins fan, just look at yourself in the mirror and ask why. Why would you be a fan of a team that doesn't try? All right. If they don't try to win, they don't try to put a competitive team on the field, why are you putting your energy into them? I am of the belief there are no rules in sports. I'm a fan of 2 teams in every single sport. I'm a big Ravens fan as well as a Dolphins fan. Go Ravens tonight. I love the Warriors. Steph Curry has been my favorite player for a long time. Soccer, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, hockey, Panthers, Penguins. Like, you go down
Penguins?
Yeah.
Sidney Crosby?
Okay, I grew up a massive Sidney Crosby fan, right? But for a while, the Yankees were my second team, and then about 5 or 6 years ago, I just completely gave up. Like there was comments yesterday on like someone saying like they're done being a Dolphins fan. Like, I would never be done being a Dolphins fan, and I would never be done being a Marlins fan, but like 5 or 6 years ago, they officially were relegated to my second team. 28's coming.
So, I might be I probably have the worst of the worst when it comes to baseball, because like I do have 2 championships in my lifetime, given I was 3 and 4.
Doesn't
both
count.
Of them.
Doesn't count.
But the Angels had won in 2002. I'm an Angels fan. And the thing that might be worse about them is that at least the Marlins trade away their talent to try to get, more farm pieces that might be good.
What'd y'all get for Ohtani?
Exactly my point. And then we go out and we do try to sign big name guys. However, we're signing the wrong big name guys. We didn't sign Trevor Bauer. We didn't sign Garrett Cole. We went instead.
Who did?
The Yankees.
That's what I thought.
Whatever.
Who's starting Game 1 in the World Series?
I don't know.
Garrett Cole, and who's starting on the other side in the number 1 spot? Shohei Ohtani. No, I'm saying in the number 1 spot.
Oh, wait. Ohtani's leading off?
Ohtani's been leading off the entire playoffs.
Bro, it shows how I don't care.
You're a big Ohtani fan still, right?
I don't dislike Otani. I just say I hate him when he.
Whoa, we will never become a Jets fan. In fact, something we'll probably talk about eventually is how we very much enjoyed that Jets loss yesterday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, at least the Marlins trade away their talent.
But have they ever gotten
just losing them in a contract?
Have they ever, for any of the guys? I'm talking Miguel Cabrera, right? I'm talking about Josh Johnson. I'm talking about Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich. Can you name me one player they got in any of those trades that actually worked out?
No, but at least they're trying. They're trying. What did the Angels? The Angels gave up last year. What, 6 of our top 20 prospects to go and get absolute dumpster fires of pitchers to help us make a playoff run, and we missed the playoffs?
At least you drafted 40 pitchers that 1 year.
Yeah, we gave up 6 of them.
Yeah, I was saying, how are any of them doing? Who's your best one out of that draft?
Ben Joyce. He's actually pretty good.
Okay, he's decent. By that, I mean I've heard his name before.
He's probably one of the best closers right now, but not the best. One of the best, and by one of the best, I mean top 10 closer. Which 30 percentile. So
what I'm hearing is you're rooting for the Yankees in the World Series?
No. Dodgers. I like more people in the Dodgers than I do.
28's coming.
If the Yankees lose, and I'll never really, this is the only time I'm admitting this to you. If the Yankees win, I won't be completely mad because my abuelo was a diehard Yankees fan. So I'll leave it there. I won't be too mad because R.I.P. abuelo.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I just love. He's half white, half Hispanic, and whenever he talks Spanish, it is the most hilarious thing in the world. Because look at the camera. Just look at the camera for me real quick. That is pasty white. All right. You don't think there's any culture in this right now?
Is there a difference?
I am white. So exactly.
I'm talking about your shirt.
Oh yes.
I was muted, but I was like, is there a difference between my skin color and his shirt? Because it's both pasty white. But yeah, and then so back to that last Dolphins drive.
Just awful.
Got a little off track. The one thing you cannot do on a 4th down is throw it away. I don't care if you break your leg trying to scramble for a 1st down.
I'd actually prefer that.
I would 100% prefer that you attempt to get a 1st down there, because this was one of the biggest games of the year. Because if we won this game, we could still lose the Bills game in 2 weeks and go 7-4 through the first 11 games, and that's really respectable with the last stretch of the season coming. And it's okay, now Tua's back in the groove of things, and we can a little less pressure. Now there's a possibility we're going to be going into that 6-5 needing to win out if we lose to the Bills, or we need to just win out. Period.
I've come to terms that we are not a Super Bowl team, regardless if we make the playoffs or not. We talked about it a little bit. Just the inability to get to the quarterback is absurd. On defense, it just gets consistently worse as you go from layer to layer. Defensive line is terrible. Linebacking crew is okay. Jordan Brooks had a decent game, had a few decent plays, but there's nothing that jumps off the page from the linebacker crew. And then the secondary, I thought actually had a really good game. Not really good, but because Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson, so
yes.
you don't have to have a great secondary game because he doesn't even know where the ball's going to end up when it releases out of his hand, right? And
there was one play that Zach Sealer jumped on Anthony Richardson's back as he was about to throw the ball, and I was just yelling no, let him throw it, because instead Anthony Richardson tucked it and ran it for 13 yards.
He just had a look in his eyes that he wanted to throw an interception yesterday. He so badly wanted to give us the ball once or twice, and we just didn't let him.
Dude, it's our pass rush was bad, but it was just good enough to not make him throw an interception.
Chop Robinson sucks. Muhammad Kamara sucks.
Kamara at least had a somewhat decent game for being inactive, and by somewhat decent, I mean he was being the 4th string. He played well for his 4th string position. He went out there, he had 7 pressures and a quarterback hit. I don't know how many snaps he played exactly. I have to look at it, but 7 pressures and a quarterback hit. I will take that from third or fourth round? Fifth round guy who's our fourth string outside linebacker who probably played better than our first rounder, Chop Robinson.
Chop Robinson has done absolutely nothing all year. Like, he can't get to the quarterback. And Rodolfo, why do Dolphin fans still hate Tua, the best quarterback since Dan Marino? Tua is the only thing now that I walked away from that game yesterday, like, up for one, like I said earlier, obviously in a lot better of a mood than you did. Like, I just couldn't have cared less. Like, I accepted how bad that game was going to be, and if we won, we won. If we lost, we lost. Like, but now Tua changes things.
The manner that we lost. It's just 4th and 2. You cannot throw the ball out of bounds. I'm sorry. I know I'm repeating myself, but like that is like the absolute one thing you cannot do. I think he thought it was 3rd down. Like,
I can't think. Can't think it's that bad.
No, it has to. There's no other reason for you to throw it out of bounds.
It's Tim Boyle.
He had to have thought that it was 3rd down, throw the ball away, get the next play, and throw a Hail Mary the next play. Because you're on like the 35, 40-yard line. Like,
it's Tim Boyle. Like, any common sense that you have about the quarterback position immediately goes out of the way. Do you think we should go out and pick up a pass rusher? Well, okay, well, let's start the conversation with let's not necessarily address that first. Let's just talk about Tua is back, right? So we had that officially confirmed as of today. Like, Tua is back and will be the quarterback. He didn't confirm he's going to be the quarterback next week, but like, come on, let's be adults. We know what's going on here. Tua is the quarterback, right? And first of all, Tua gave some serious attitude today.
Yo, I was loving it.
When talking about
it.
Like, he saying stuff like, we don't really care about when boxers and hockey guys get concussions. And then when he was asked about whether he was going to wear the stupid like helmet cap, guardian cap, whatever, guardian angel, whatever it is. All right, he's like, no, why? I don't want to. Personal choice, like that, like very blunt, straight to the point with that, right? But he's back, and obviously with Tua, this team looks completely different, right? And we've talked. Dolphins fans in general have talked ad nauseum about, like, is it the right decision? Should he retire? Should the team even let him play? Doesn't matter. He's gonna play. 2-4, rest of the season in front of us. A lot of winnable games, some games that are going to be tough, some games that we thought were going to be tougher than they probably are going to be. I'm looking at the Niners. I'm looking at the Browns. But obviously that Bills game, the Packers game still stands out, right? So 2-4. I don't think this is a Super Bowl team, but as weird as it is to say, like, there is still a chance at the playoffs, and I think that almost makes it worse and more annoying right now. Like, I kind of wish I could just give up on the season today, but you can't.
No, you absolutely can. While you're saying that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the standings. Like, we're currently in 10th, and we're only 2 games behind, ironically enough, the Colts for a playoff spot. And Denver. We're tied right now, we're half a game back of Cincinnati, who's now 3-4. And we thought their season was dead in the water when they were 1-4.
Yeah, but they have Joe Burrow in that offense. It's never dead. But then you can say that about our team.
That's exactly where I was going with that, actually. So thank you. But
you're welcome.
Hey, you're welcome for John Smith.
You're welcome for John. Bro, we have a fantasy league together where tight ends get 3 points per reception.
It's the most stupid thing ever, but
it's stupid, but it worked out. I'm driving on I-95. Don't text and drive, kids, unless you're changing our fantasy team at 12:55. Then go ahead. At 12:55, I think it was, I texted. We have a team together, the 2 of us and one more person. I'm like, hey, we should start Jonnu Smith instead of Darius Slayton. And how many points did Jonnu Smith get for us?
38.
And how much did Darius Slayton get?
I don't even know.
3. You're welcome. Tua isn't and doesn't and can be compared to Dan Marino Dynasty Miami. Tua is a waste of draft. Look, I was very excited when we drafted Tua. Very excited, and like, he is exactly what he is. Like, when things are going well, cool. When things aren't, ugh. He is Brock Purdy. He is Dak Prescott. He is Jared Goff. He is those game managers in that tier range of quarterbacks. You can argue who's better amongst a bunch, but we see what those guys all look like when everything's going well. And right now, Jared Goff is killing it. I mean, more touchdowns than incompletions, I think, in the last 3 weeks. And then you look at Dak, you look at Tua, you look at Brock Purdy, all guys that whenever they've been without their guys, 2 of which right now, Dak and Dak and Brock Purdy don't have the greatest supporting cast, whether it be injuries, whether it be incompetency in the front office. And then Tua injuries. Last year we saw some time without Tyreek and Waddle, and we've seen that over his career, what he looks like with lesser weapons. All of those guys in the same range of guys. So Tua, again, it sucks. I would never ever say he's a waste of a pick, but it still sucks seeing what Herbert's doing with absolutely nothing over in Los Angeles.
Honestly, Herbert's not even really doing much right now. I mean,
he's doing enough.
He's not asked to do much right now. But you mentioned like we have a favorable schedule going forward, and we really, really do. Like this week is the Cardinals, who they have a hot and cold offense and a bad defense. The Bills after that, who also have a kind of a hot and cold offense.
They're gonna kill us though. Let's just keep it a buck.
Probably, but that's next week's thing. The Rams, who are just, if you want to talk about injured, they're more injured than us, and we're terribly injured.
But that offense should be fully healthy by the time we get to them.
I don't think Puka's going to be back. Cooper Kupp will be back.
Puka's supposed to come back week 9. That's going to be week 10.
That is indeed week 10.
So Puka and Cooper Kupp should be fully back.
Raiders should be an absolutely easy dub. They're going to be without
talent.
Coaching. Gardner Minshew is going to be starting. Their running backs are terrible. I think Jacoby Myers is a candidate for IR currently.
Max Crosby could be traded.
Max Crosby could be traded.
Should be.
Christian Wilkins is on IR. He's going to be out. After that, Patriots, who have looked a little bit better on offense, but their defense is terrible. We saw that. Like, they were just able to run the ball down their throats. The Jaguars were. Packers, that's going to be a tough one. I'm marking that as
That's
a
just
loss.
an L, yeah.
Jets, who are terrible currently.
If we played them right now, they'd kill us, though.
Oh, without Tua.
Yeah. With Tua...
With Tua, I'm taking us.
All right. I did mention earlier we were talking about the Jets very briefly, and might as well do it now. I still have belief that... Not belief in the Jets, per se, but I still just get the vibe that things are going to turn around. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, right? I don't think they're a serious threat in just terms of the AFC, but there's just so much going on. There's just so much to go right there that, like, I can't imagine it getting worse than this or continuing on this bad.
So that was kind of like what I was going to segue into was they are terrible, but like Devontae Adams said, there's way too much talent.
Way too much. And
Like,
they're getting some more with Hassan Reddick.
Like, Hassan Reddick's coming back. Will McDonald's playing well. That Quincy Williams, of course, or Quinnen.
Is he still not as good as Zach Sealer?
Run defense. That's the only time I've ever said Zach Sealer was better. And yes, he's passed Zach Sealer in that department. Anyways, back to the Jets. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, dynamic duo in the backfield. Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked good at all, but they're gonna get better there because he's still recovering from that Achilles injury. And it's just like Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. Like you have too much talent, and even then, after that, Mike Williams is still there. He's recovering from the ACL injury. He's coming back. I know he's kind of like a trade candidate currently, but if he's not traded, he's going to progressively get better in that offense. Alan Lazard looks like he did 3 years ago. Like, he didn't look like last year where he looked like trash. It's going to be Tyler Conklin looks good. Like, that offense is way too talented to fail. And it is failing currently, but it's just way too talented to continue to fail, especially we don't play them for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks.
And also, look at the teams they played the last 3 weeks. Vikings, who just got their first loss of the season to the Lions. Like, that's no thing to hang your head about. Then they go on to lose to the Buffalo Bills. Monday Night Football, I feel like they should have won that game. I feel like they're the better team that week against the Bills. And then yesterday, look, the Steelers might just be a top 10 team. They don't play like we think top 10 teams in this league should play. They aren't flashy on offense. They don't have a lot of meaningful pre-snap movement. There's not really a good running game. Najee Harris just continues to find a way to somehow lump out like 80-yard games, right? It doesn't look how a great team in 2024 should look, but they're 5-2. I don't know off the top of my head the best team they've beaten, but they're playing really strong, really physical defense. George Pickens just had the best game. Russell Wilson, well-coached team. So look at those 3 teams the Jets just played. It'd be hard for us to get a win out of that. It'd be hard for us to get a win even with Tua, I think, out of those 3 teams.
I mean, yeah, because T.J. Watt is just T.J. Watt. He's like
even with Tua,
the secondary looks good too. But you're asking who they've beat. They've beaten the Falcons. They've beaten the Broncos. They've beaten the Chargers. They lost to the Colts.
But wasn't
they beat
the second half of that was with Joe Flacco?
I believe so.
No, it was. Yeah.
Cowboys they lost to. They beat the Raiders and then beat the Jets. So like the Falcons, they looked horrible that first game, and since then they looked good up until this game, which they looked horrible once again.
Come on, man. Kirk, go. I needed you.
Like, given the Broncos haven't really played anybody the last 3 weeks, but they look good the last 3 weeks.
I don't believe in the Broncos whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. So when I say that the Broncos haven't like, they've looked good the last 3 weeks, I mean like 5 weeks. They beat the crap out of the Bucks. They beat the Jets by 1. They beat the crap out of the Raiders. They lost to the Chargers in a close game, and then they beat the crap out of the Saints this week.
They're a well-coached team without a lot of talent. They're kind of like the Chargers minus a good quarterback. Like there's not a lot going on. They're trying to lean on the running game like the Chargers are doing without top-tier running back talent. They're just trying to make it work. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Broncos, and I'm still trying to figure out how much confidence I have in the Steelers long term, and that's not something that can be answered right now, especially Russell Wilson just 1 game into his career as a Steeler. But the Jets are going to have much better weeks. There is just too much talent there. I don't know how good of a coach their interim coach is. I don't even know what his name is, right? But there's just too much talent.
Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah, don't know, don't care, don't know who it is. He's going to be out and in 10 weeks, right? Bottom line, though, is there's just so much talent there, and we're going to probably see them at the worst time to see them when they finally start to click, when everybody is no longer lingering from their injuries last season. Breece Hall, back-to-back really good games, especially for fantasy. So appreciate you, Breece. There's just so much going on. Passing game is going better. Running game is good right now. Defense is good. Sauce Gardner got hurt yesterday. Don't think he came back, so that'd be something to look at.
I don't know if Sauce got hurt. Did he?
No, he definitely got hurt. I don't remember if he came back.
They're trash. New York Jets are ultimate trash.
Yes, you can always.
Yes,
it's easy to look at them like that, but it's not
for someone that has a really broad view like you do, where it's like you either suck or you don't. I like how you're actually kind of like dipping into this a little bit, where you're like,
I'm like that with players. All right,
they're trash, but they have good players, so they should figure it out. But it's really just a matter of if that coaching is good enough. Like you talked about, you don't know who their coach is. It's Jeff Ulbrich, and I think part of why their defense is declining so much over the last couple weeks is because he's taking on more head coaching duties. What's up, Cap? How you doing? Marino just didn't have a running game. Tua has everything except his ability to be healthy.
Well, that's a pretty big thing. But
I mean,
he doesn't have everything.
No.
He doesn't. There's still some things about this team that I think are really built backwards, and that's really small wide receivers. I remember we had this conversation in the offseason, and I think I might see a little bit of a change in opinion on this. I said in the offseason that if we could trade Jalen Waddle for DK Metcalf, I would do it in a heartbeat. And at the time you said no. I'm curious, now that you've seen let me especially explain why. Looking at what this offense needs, there is zero physicality in the receiver department. Our biggest wide receiver is Odell till River Craycraft gets back, right? And you have a strong opinion about Odell, which we'll talk about probably. But there's no physicality in the receiver room. And when you have a backup quarterback coming into this system where the ball has to be in a specific spot, the receivers can't out-physical the corners to, if the ball's a little bit off, they'll get the advantage. You don't have that with anybody on this team outside of Jonnu Smith, who had a really good game yesterday because you can rely more on his physicality. Waddle is comparable to Tyreek. Differences in style, right? But still comparable just in terms of overall wide receiver, who they are, build, right? But if given the opportunity to go get a more physical wide receiver like a DK Metcalf, I, at the time, said without a doubt I would do a Waddle for DK trade, and still to this day I would. So what do you think about that?
I still wouldn't do Waddle for DK, but I've been saying all offseason that we do need a big, strong receiver. And I said that, hey, we should not pass up on Brian Thomas Jr. Guess who we passed up on? Brian Thomas Jr. Guess who we passed up on? Adonai Mitchell. Guess who was open all day yesterday? Adonai Mitchell.
I still think Adonai Mitchell's a bit sus, but Brian Thomas Jr. absolutely fifth in the league in terms of yardage. This offense so desperately needs a physical element to it, and certainly doesn't have in the receiving department. Last week we had it in the rushing game with Raheem Mostert and
Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright.
And now, given we did have that a little bit this week, we were
Not really.
We were running. They did play their linebackers up a little bit, so like to play against our run game, but we were still averaging 4 to 5 yards per carry. I mean, there was one drive I don't think we passed the ball until we got into their area, and guess what happened then? We stalled the drive.
Yeah.
So
they let us pick up yards early on in the drive because they did not believe in our ability at all to pass the ball. So when we started to pick up an 8-9 yard drive and the defense or the offense doesn't have as much room when we get onto their side of the field, they knew we couldn't throw over the top, and then that eliminates Jalen Waddle and eliminates Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are not a between the defensive line and middle linebacker group. That's not the type of receiver they are. That's not where they look for their yards. We don't have anybody that can find yards there as of now. They are between the linebackers and the safeties.
That's where, sorry to interrupt you. And it is the stupidest thing ever because against our defense, that's where people thrive the most is when we're in zone coverage and they just throw it right behind the linebacker.
Dude, I was getting so mad that Seahawks team just watching Noah Fant run 5 yards, turn around, catch the ball, fall forward 3 yards. Now they have 2nd and 2.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. And it's like to watch that happen there, and we can't do that. We don't have someone that can do that. Now, given Jonnu, maybe Odell is kind of brought in to do that. Malik Washington did it a little bit, but he didn't catch it on the middle. He caught it on the outside.
And also, no defense is taking him serious yet.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, when Tua comes back this week, I don't really want to empty the playbook against the Cardinals because I don't think we have to. But I definitely want to, show at least the fans like, hey, we're not dead yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I just did it again. Muted my mic again. Kind of segue what we were just talking about to Cap's question right here about what's on your mind regarding to his presser earlier. And something that we didn't say earlier that I for sure take away from it is he was very confident in that, and he didn't seem scared. Now, whether that's him trying to psych himself up to go back out there because he's gone through a lot, physically, mentally. As a Miami Dolphins quarterback, he's gone through a lot, and to go through another concussion, the element of recovery, the element of questioning, thinking about your kids, thinking about your wife, thinking about your future, and all that he's already had to deal with in terms of questioning from the fan base, from his coaches throughout the years. So I had to deal with this more and more and more. I'm sure is really starting to get on it, but he was very sharp and very he wasn't apologizing for anything. He's like, I'm going to play. There's risks in every walk of life. I know I can get hurt. I'm going to play. And that's what you need for him to step back onto the field because I'm sure there were questions within himself and within his family about whether he should go back out there and play or not, but he's clearly all in. And in order to step on that football field, retired players talk about it all the time. The second they questioned about whether they should be on the football field, it was over. At that point, they knew their career was done with, and even though they maybe played 1, 2, 3 more years, they were done. They couldn't be their full self again because there's such an emotional response needed on the football field. We got that from him today in the presser where he is clearly locked in still and playing football.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was it? Yeah, he looked mad. I saw your previous one where it said you looked mad. Yeah, he looked mad. And I think it was, like Jacob said, it was the determination to just get back on the field. He said that he's been symptom-free since the day after the game. And he talked about a little bit about, people don't compare it to, boxing concussions or hockey concussions. And I think this latest concussion was probably most comparable to a fighter because it didn't come from, the top of his head or his head hitting the ground. He got hit in the side of the head like getting punched by an MMA fighter or a boxer and getting knocked out that way. So, having the concussion was a concern, but as far as, the severity of it, I think it was more comparable to, being knocked out by a fighter.
Yeah, a little breaking news. Deebo Samuel has pneumonia and fluid in his lungs and is currently hospitalized.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so he was, we saw yesterday, when he went out for warm-ups and just wasn't happening. He very quickly realized he could not go out to play. And we knew he was sick, but sick could mean a whole bunch of things. Stomach, head, body, lungs. Speaking about, about medical stuff with Tua, that could have been bad if he played.
Oh, absolutely. Fluid in your lungs and playing. And, dude, they're just, decimated by injuries over... Yeah, it's the same thing. They're decimated by injuries over there.
Yeah, Ayuk.
Brandon Ayuk.
Shout out.
ACL and MCL. Dude, yesterday, as far as injuries, was crazy to begin with. We could talk about...
What's wrong with George Kittle? I thought you finished.
His foot.
Oh,
he's day to day.
He's always hurt.
I mean, he talked about going through a car accident every single time.
Yeah, especially what he does.
Yeah, a tight end has the most physical part of.
And he doesn't make it any easier. He throws his body around.
Yeah.
And he we were talking about we were talking about yesterday. We were comparing younger tight ends, and I compare a wide receiver or a tight end like Sam Laporta more to a Mark Andrews, where they're very blocky, they're very big. They can block, but there's not a lot of wiggle to them. And I compared Trey McBride more to George Kittle. George Kittle is very nimble. He's very quick on his feet, but he's also physical, and he's also very much willing to throw his body around. And George Kittle is always hurt, even when he's on the field. So it doesn't surprise me that he just randomly has an injury yet again.
Some more 49ers news. Christian McCaffrey is not expected to play this Sunday, but he is expected to return after the bye week.
God, they need him.
Oh yeah, they need him.
Jordan Mason was cute, right? It's we can plug and play any running back, which obviously they've proved that they can with Raheem Mostert, with Matt Breida, with Jeff Wilson, and now with Jordan Mason, right? But
Elijah Mitchell, yeah.
Elijah Mitchell, the list goes on about guys, Tevin Coleman, guys in this 49ers offense that have just been able to run the ball. Kyle Juszczyk has had a great career over there just based on what he's been asked to do. But this team is set up that I could walk in there and probably get 3 yards per carry if I just fell forward, right? They just make holes. They give their running backs multiple and plenty opportunities to succeed. But Christian McCaffrey is just a different animal, right? You still have that. Oh, he's no matter what, he's gonna get 4 yards per carry. On top of the fact that he is one of the greatest running backs that we've seen in our lifetime.
100%. But yeah, as far as the injuries yesterday go, it's stupid. Braxton Berrios torn ACL.
Oh no.
Brandon Ayuk torn ACL, MCL. DK Metcalf grade 1 MCL sprain. Debo with the pneumonia. I'm missing something else here.
You're missing one very, very, very notable one. Massage Boy goes down.
Oh yeah, Deshaun Watson torn Achilles.
That thing said, "Hey, Jalen Phillips, yeah, let me take one of those." Yeah, and then the fan obviously don't want to talk too much about Deshaun Watson, but it is crazy seeing a fan base we have our opinions on Deshaun Watson, and I'm sure you do, and I'm not gonna get too much into that, but still seeing any fan base cheer for a player getting hurt, regardless of who it is. Usually you see it it's an opposing team, right? And the team, the fans get called classless, blah, 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 for a week, and then everyone forgets about it, right? But rarely, very, very, very rarely do you see them cheering their own player getting hurt. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And I think the only time I've ever seen that besides this is when Matt Schaub got hurt for the Texans so many years ago.
I don't know any other time today Matt Schaub and Deshaun Watson have came up in the same sentence. So we might be the only two people in the world to have done that. Congratulations, you guys just witnessed history. Look, Matt Schaub, Deshaun Watson, boom, same sentence. We all also witnessed history yesterday in something that I was very happy about. Josh Jacobs, I've mentioned this 17 times, probably to him, and I don't know if I've ever said it on here. Had the most catches in the NFL without ever having a reception touchdown, and I just saw it happening when he motioned out. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a screen to the right. And he finally got his receiving touchdown, and my fantasy team is very thankful for it. Yeah, everyone's getting hurt. You know who's not my fantasy team? I mean, let's keep that going. All right, boys. Let's keep it going. Hey, I don't have him on my team no more.
McCaffrey.
I don't have. I'm talking about my main. Like I'm talking about cream team. I'm talking about my team. Right. We're rolling,
Speaking
right?
of cream team.
We're rolling, baby. We're not getting hurt. We're staying healthy. I did have Brandon Ayuk in Dynasty go down, which definitely sucked. Dolphins did have, like I said, he did just briefly mention Braxton Berrios go down. Look, I don't know if I should say this.
We activated Cam Smith when
we did. Braxton Berrios goes down, torn ACL. I don't know if I should say this. I could not care less. No, there was some fake audio.
So they were booing him for getting injured, I guess. So technically it wasn't cheering, but it was kind of like they were booing him for getting injured.
I did see some fake audio of like some fans chanting about the injury, which was not like that was actually from a soccer game, ironically enough, because they just soccer fans are crazy and they will very much cheer for a player getting hurt, especially in Spain. But no, I saw some fake clips, but no, there were definitely fans cheering. Like there was like videos of people standing as he's on the ground, like rolling in pain, of people standing and clapping. Like that I actually did see. So no, they cheered. They didn't cheer him off. Well, probably some cheered him off the field as like a respect thing, but some people also cheered as he was down on the ground. But what I was saying about Braxton Berrios, like, look, that dude has done absolutely freaking nothing for this team. You, me, all of y'all at home, same amount of receptions this year as Braxton Berrios. Like, I did not understand why we signed him. He did nothing for us last year. Like, the best thing he brings to this team is that he's a really hot girlfriend. That is it. That is the entire Braxton Berrios experience. I don't even know what her name is. All I know is apparently she's hot. Alex Earl, is it?
Yeah, Alex
okay,
Earl.
See, I know things.
You know things. Congratulations. Sir.
Not necessarily my type, but I definitely know.
Yeah, we know.
I've heard of her before.
But yeah. Like his injury doesn't really decimate the Dolphins. Just kind of like another Dolphins thing to happen. As far as punting duties and kick return duties, it's probably going to go to Malik Washington. We might see Achane back on the kickoff return like we did. What?
Please, dear God, no. That dude is.
I mean, who else would you put back there?
Just
Malik Washington and who?
That's it. Malik Washington and Malik Washington. All right.
But you have to have two back there.
Put Ethan Bonner back there for all I care. All right. Just
honestly, I might not
Malik Washington and bring out the ghost of Taj Washington. Like I don't care. Like.
Dog, you remember Taj Washington?
Calm down, all right, son. We drafted him this year. Stop it. That's disrespectful. All right, I know some players. All right, look, Malik Washington is the only when as soon as he was healthy, Braxton Berrios should have never touched the ball ever again in a Dolphins uniform. And this is not on the basis of Malik Washington is good. It's on the basis for when we saw what he can do in preseason. And I don't take a lot away from preseason, but you can take away people returning punts or people returning kicks because the same people you're playing on special teams, you're probably going to be playing them again in the regular season because you don't see any starters preseason, regular season on special teams. So you're going against the same guys, and he looked explosive. He looked shifty, and like he looked like he actually could make plays, which you do not get from Braxton Berrios whatsoever.
On that side of it, he did have a couple of muff punts in preseason.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
Let him get it out of his system.
It was also his first time returning punts in a game because he never did that in college. So that's going to be interesting. But
Odell does not have that touch anymore, and
Odell,
he's not excited about what Odell could look like to this team. I'm waiting to see what he looks like with Tua. I think there can be something there. Odell is certainly not the same guy you saw even on the Rams, let alone the guy you saw on the Giants, right? But I do think there is still something he could add to this offense as he is the best wide receiver 3 that Tua has ever had. I don't think he's going to be.
River Craycraft is better.
We will see. We will see. I think he has still enough in the tank. I hope we can get something out of him. I hope this is not just a Will Fuller situation where I was like so incredibly happy that we got Will Fuller, and pretty much every other Dolphins fan, including this man to my left, was not happy with that, and they were all correct. And I'm still sad about that because there was so much potential for that to go right, and it just didn't. Not as much potential with Odell, so it kind of shifts the expectations, but I do just hope we get some of whatever he has left in the tank and hope that's good enough.
So my reasoning for Odell is so when we signed him, it was kind of like meh for me. I was like, look, if we can get 500 yards and a few touchdowns out of him, I'll be happy. That's worth the $8 million we signed him to. But as he's gone through the camp, he talked about with Omar Kelly how he just wasn't right mentally, and then also had the knee issues, had stuff at home, and that's what really kept him away. And then last week he missed practice for personal reasons, and it's and then you saw, if you watch the video of his interview with Omar Kelly, you could just see, and he's very open about it, he's just not mentally there. And if you're not mentally there and locked in with this team, I don't want you on the field. I don't, are guys really going to trust you to be there and block for them or run the route hard and 100%? And are you going to be able to, give 102% of yourself on that football field? And if I can't trust you with that, then I don't want you there. And I, honestly, I rather have River Craycraft, Malik Washington in that role. Eric Ezukama comes to mind as well. I know you think he sucks.
He does.
Odell might be the better player, but as far as effort goes, honestly, if you put Ezukama out there, his biggest thing is effort. I still think he gives more effort than Odell right now.
There isn't a lot that I can disagree with, if almost anything at all that I can disagree with what you just said. Obviously, I disagree with Eric Ezekama because I do think he just flat out stinks. But the younger guys, seeing them get a chance would be cool. But Odell, what we see from his career, he is very much a hot and cold guy. In New York, he was a tone setter. Ever since he left New York, he has not set the tone. He has been, if things are going good, he's a really good complimentary piece. If things aren't going as much as isn't going as good as he would like, you do see him start to drift off. And we saw him start to drift off last year as Zay Flowers got more involved in the offense. And in Baltimore, Odell had some better weeks early on in the season in Baltimore, but he was by no means somebody that you regretted seeing on the field there in Baltimore. I don't know what the expectation is from the rest of the season. I don't know if we'll see him get, over the next 10 games or so. I don't know if we'll see him get 300 receiving yards, right? I don't know that. What I do know that is everybody else we've ever seen at that position, we haven't seen Malik Washington get a real run at it. We've seen Craycraft. We've seen Braxton Berrios. We haven't seen Eric Ezekama, but he's with the team for 3 years, so that's on him. We've seen all of them, Cedric Wilson, guys that were previously on the team. We've seen all of them get that opportunity at the wide receiver 3 spot, and it just hasn't happened. Odell, I don't know how much he has left. I don't know if he's really that good. I liked it when we brought him in, just exactly for what it was, wide receiver 3. Maybe he ends up being good. If he doesn't, he's gone at the end of the season. It doesn't bite you. It does bite you in the sense maybe that quarterback. That is certainly an argument you can make.
There's that argument, but then there's also the argument that we could have spent $2 million more of those dollars to go and get Andrew Van Ginkel.
No, for sure, 100% that's correct. But in that sense, 100% would have rather done that. But past is the past. We're here in the present. I can't speak of what should have been because we could sit here all day and say, well, the Dolphins should have done this, should have done this. We are Dolphins fans. Our entire existence of being Dolphins fans is looking at what they did and saying, hey, they should have done this. And it looks pretty clear now that they should have done this, right? That every single decision it seems like the Dolphins make, there were a better decision that they could have made along the way. Same here with Odell Beckham. We could have used that money for Andrew Van Ginkel. We could have used it for Joe Flacco. We could have used it for a whole host of things that right now today would have made the team better, but we didn't. I just hold on to that hope that him and Tua, I remember when Tua first came to the league and I just thought to myself, the best wide receiver for him would have been prime Odell Beckham. His slant routes were so crisp. His ability to get open at the line of scrimmage, which is something we do not have now. We do not have a guy that at the line of scrimmage can get open on their own. Tyreek Hill doesn't even do that. Tyreek gets open downfield. Jalen Waddle gets open downfield. Odell gets open at the line. It's not going to be explosive. There's not going to be a lot. There's not going to be the big plays that you get from Waddle and hit Tyreek. But I am still hopeful that at the line of scrimmage, where we severe lack right now, that he can still do that. That first step might still be there. After the first step, God knows what happens. But just those short intermediate routes, it changes how the defense can look at you. Is it going to be good? I don't know. I hope so. I just have that slimmer of hope, and that's all I can have.
That's completely understandable because we talked about it a little bit earlier. What we brought him in for was, those slant routes to get open.
You have a very comical sneeze.
Whatever. Anyways, what we brought him in for was to be able to get open in that area that, that we haven't been able to attack, which is the middle of the short to intermediate middle of the field. We've been able to attack 15, 20 yards downfield over the middle and 15, 20 yards downfield everywhere else. But with that, all they have to do is back the linebackers up, play too high safety, and nothing is really open. And then you have to just check it down to Achane, Mostert, 24/7. And then really our offensive line is not good in pass blocking enough to be able to withstand 4 to 5 rushers. So, there's times that they're rushing 3 and we can't stop them. Like 5 versus 3 and we can't stop them. Like that's atrocious. Aaron Brewer is atrocious in pass blocking. Robert Jones, not the greatest, but he's not good either in pass blocking. Armstead's hot and cold with his age and everything. Austin Jackson is like mid. He's the definition of mid. Eichenberg's been okay. Eichenberg being our best offensive lineman and most consistent offensive lineman this season was not on my bingo card. I knew he would be better than he was last year. Was not expecting him to be our best.
I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that, but we there is a vision for this offense being better. Obviously, like Tua spearhead, we've already talked about Tua in here, and it does not need to be talked about. Like this offense will be so much better with Tua, and things are going to look drastically different next week. I hesitate saying drastically because didn't look great against Jacksonville, and that Jacksonville defense is not good whatsoever. And then against the Bills before Tua goes down, it also didn't look good. But how bad the offense has been since, it can't help but be drastically different. But now you have options. You have options within this passing offense that you didn't have before. In Jonnu Smith, I really, really hope Jonnu Smith keeps the role that we saw from him yesterday. And maybe a lot of what Jonnu Smith had going on from him was the defense saying, we do not care about Jonnu Smith. He can get all the yards he wants. I would love to see another 7 for 90 and a touchdown game from Jonnu Smith.
I have no idea, but I would take that every Sunday.
There's only one football on the field, right? And Tua, let's say Tua averages 280 yards per game for the rest of the season, right? So it's not realistic for everybody to have big games, right? Well, let's say you have Tyreek Hill getting his 6 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. Let's say Waddle goes 5 for 75, right? Maybe a score, maybe not, right? That still leaves yards on the table and the ability for Odell to come into this offense and give everything he's got left. You have Waddle and Hill attacking the defense deep downfield. I don't think it's going to happen, but let's say you still get the best out of whatever Odell has left. If Odell had an 8 for 80, right, next week against the Cardinals, and Jonnu Smith had a 5 for 50, regardless of what Tyreek and Jalen Waddle do, because we assume they're going to do really well, but if Jonnu has a 5 for 50, 5 for 70, whatever it is, Odell Beckham has a 6 for 60, right? No matter what Waddle and Tyreek finish with, going through the rest of the season, defenses have to think about us a little bit differently. You can't just play. Also, part of this is assuming we win the game, right? If we win the game with those two having more than 40 yards each, meaning Jonnu and Odell Beckham. Regardless of what Tyreek and Waddle do, right? That forces defenses for the rest of the season to think a little bit differently because Odell's not going to be getting deep shots. Jonnu Smith's not going to be getting deep shots. So they're probably going to be getting those yards, those catches close to the line of scrimmage. Defenses for the rest of the season will probably still play a crap load of deep cover 2 against us. We are going to get that every game. That is how you beat us as of now. But if we can succeed, if we can win by getting Jonnu Smith just, tight end screen, dump off here, he takes it for 8 yards. If he can do what Noah Fant did to us, and if you have Odell on the other side getting quick off the line, giving him some wide receiver screens, giving him some slants, giving him some outs, giving him some zig routes, giving him into opportunities where he just picks up, similar to Jonnu Smith, 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, and that's how we win a game, you're going to see less cover 2. When you see less cover 2, what does that mean? Big shots for Tyreek and Waddle.
Another element that could be there that we kind of saw go away a little bit over the past few weeks without Tua here, mostly because of the penalties, is the motion. Like, we still had some motion here and there, but most of it stopped before the line of scrimmage. Tyreek last year, a lot of his routes, especially the ones that were like between 10 to 15 yards, those started with getting him in motion and starting him like 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage already running to help him not have to face the press coverage and not get out physicaled at the line and help him get open sooner. So I think we could see more of that with Tua in command of the offense, having everyone in sync. I do think that is a possibility there. Now, maybe not the first week back with, because he's only going to have a week with these guys, given he had all offseason with them. But, going forward, it's only a week with this guy. They had the last 3 weeks or the last 5 weeks, really, with three other quarterbacks, Skyler, Huntley, and Tim freaking Boyle.
God knows why he's even in the NFL, let alone on Miami Dolphins roster.
I don't know. I rather we have signed you. Like,
dude, I could go
100% honest.
I could get 2K. All right, like, look, the spiral might be a little weak, but my ball placement's decent.
Oh, this is a good question. Do you think Tyreek is having problems mentally because of getting arrested? And honestly, I do and I don't. Like, I think that when people ask him about it, and when he's at home, it does kind of resonate and kind of like get into his head a little bit. And because he talks about, like, when he's streaming on Twitch or when he's on Twitter, he does talk about there's changes that need to be made and like how he's going to help do those changes. And sometimes even in the locker room, he'll talk with Jonnu, he'll talk with Calais and the other guys that were there about like what they can do. But when you're on the football field, I feel like all of that kind of checks out of your mind. I think when you're on the football field, all that matters right then and there is football. Now, given preparation is a lot, so if you're not able to focus while preparing, then that's one thing. But I don't think that's his thing at all. I think he's just not getting the ball. It's frustrating. This time around, he looked a little bit more calm on the bench, okay with his role of not getting the ball as often because he knew the game plan was to run it down their throats. And then all of a sudden we were behind.
I don't think this is because of being arrested. Like you said there at the end, I think it's entirely just based off what this offense has become. And I think he was angrier the first few weeks because there was still that expectation of like, all right, look, yes, I don't have Tua. Yes, we're going out with a lesser quarterback, but they're still going to find a way to give me the ball, right? And I think he has accepted more where he's at, but he's definitely not the Tyreek that we normally see. The Tyreek that we normally see is based off of him doing really well, and he then has that energy radiating off of him that he is one of, if not the best receiver in the league. He is a guy that thrives on being great. He's not going to be quite like what I was just talking about earlier with Odell, where like when things are going bad, he starts going bad. Like, no, I think Tyreek has still been a good team captain, and I think he's still mentally there in the games. But I don't think it's about the arrest. I think he and most of everybody has really kind of forgot that it's even happened. I think there's just been so much going wrong with the team itself that can't help but like get to you. Like if you go to work, right, and you know your management is really poor. The people that you rely on to help you do your job are doing a poor job, right? That gets to you and affects your ability, even if you are the best employee at your job. And if you're anything less than the best employee, then it's just going to go even harder. It'll be even harder for you to do the best of your ability at work. So that's how you are, just, you know, whether you're an accountant, whether you work at a grocery store, whatever you do, if that's what you're doing, if that's what will happen likely at that level. Think about being on a football field where you're dealing with some of the most athletic, strong, fast, incredible, just physical specimens in the world. So it's just really hard to be mentally locked in when you know what you're dealing with around you isn't great. But what is great is we have a really, really good Monday night game coming up here very soon. I am very excited for this Ravens-Bucks game. We have 2 games tonight. We'll see.
2 games tonight. I'm actually excited. I'm excited to watch the Ravens absolutely dominate the Buccaneers, but I'm also excited to kind of watch the Chargers-Cardinals game because that's going to tell us a lot about what we can do next week against the Cardinals. The Cardinals are traveling a ways over here. They're going to be, I think it's later over here.
Earlier over here.
Earlier over here. So they're going to be kind of like jumbled with the time difference. But the Chargers and the Dolphins, ironically enough, play very similar type of football. They're really run first, run heavy, and the Cardinals are not a good defense. So if the Chargers can get going tonight on the ground and really just beat them physically, I think that helps us tremendously. It's a short week for the Cardinals. They have to travel all the way over here. So I'm really interested in that game as far as, the Dolphins go. But as far as that's going to be kind of like the more boring game of the night, it's going to be a light show with the Ravens and Bucks.
Yeah, the Ravens defense is a tale of two defenses, for a lack of a better word. Best team in the NFL in terms of rushing defense, second worst in the NFL in terms of passing defense. And you got Mike Evans, who was on the injury report earlier this week with a hamstring injury. He is full of go as of now. You have Chris Godwin, who predicted Chris Godwin wide receiver 1 in fantasy football through 6 weeks, and if he has a good game today through 7 weeks, that is just absolutely nuts. I'm so glad I picked him up in one of my leagues. But Bucks passing offense, which outside of the Lions probably has been the best in the league. Ravens with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson is making a serious case for his 3rd MVP. Like that game again, certainly more exciting. I know you have something. Give me 1 second. Certainly more exciting, but I do, like you just mentioned, I really think that the Chargers are going to give us a good blueprint for the Cardinals in terms of being more physical. We can't do that. We aren't physical against anybody, but if there is anybody in this league that we maybe can out physical, it is the Arizona Cardinals. So that could be something good to watch out for today. You have something of note to speak on?
So the Raiders just signed Desmond Ridder to their active roster.
Oh, jeez.
Not really that much of a note, but then also Marquez Valdez-Scantling is not going to the Chiefs. Is not going to the Bills, but he is going to the Saints.
Jeez, that's like 2 of the worst breaking news updates I've ever heard.
Well, I turned on Twitter because I went to go look for I went on Twitter to look to see if the inactives tonight. That's what I saw.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, about an hour into this, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Miami Dolphins therapy session. We talked about a lot more about the Dolphins than Donovan and I intended to. I literally texted him late last night. I'm like, hey, do you want to just not talk about the Dolphins at all tomorrow? And we both agreed on saying yes to that, and then texted on the way. But there's a lot to talk about the Dolphins. I don't think we're a Super Bowl team, but certainly things are going to get better. Got one more thing to speak of?
So I did. It looks like everybody of note is good to go for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans is good to go. Shad White, good to go. Trey Palmer, good to go. Vita Vea was questionable. He's good to go.
All right, so 2 very entertaining games. ESPN is being a cuck and making you have to have ESPN Plus. So Meth streams and Stream East in order to watch the Arizona Chargers game. Because have you seen those commercials like the first game exclusively on ESPN Plus, which basically means if you want to watch this game, bozos, you have to buy ESPN Plus. It's a very nice way of saying that.
Yeah, and I mean, given a lot of us already have ESPN Plus, but like all the subscriptions that you have to have nowadays. I mean, even just to watch the NFL, you need to have Amazon Prime, you need to have Peacock, you need to have ESPN and ESPN Plus. Like, it's ridiculous.
You saw Tariq Woolen was watching meth streams? Was using meth streams?
No, that's hilarious.
Yeah, he like took a picture of like I forget what he was watching, but you can see methstreams.com in the top bar. Like, dude, it is really getting ridiculous. But like I mentioned, we just hit exactly on the hour mark. Jacob, Donovan here, Mom Dolphins Syndicate. This was episode 6, 7, whatever it is, of Dolphins Social Podcast. We will be here every single Monday to recap the game, talk a little bit about the NFL, talk a little bit about bets. We didn't really talk about that today. We do not have time. Don't you dare pull up the Hard Rock app. Talk a little bit about fantasy. Talked a lot more about the Dolphins than we expected to today. Thank you to Rodolfo. Thank you to Cab, Armando. Appreciate all of y'all hanging out in the chat with us today. We will see you guys 6 o'clock, 6:15 next Monday, talking about the Arizona game we got coming up on Sunday. But till then, I hope all of y'all have a great rest of your night. Enjoy the 2 games tonight. We'll see y'all next time. That went well.
Hello?